Welcome to the football show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Peter Martin, Alan Ruff, Tam McManus and Alison McConnell here with me to look back over the weekend's World Cup action, discuss some of the domestic stories emerging today and looking ahead to some of the big games coming up in the World Cup as well. We'll also discuss the Scottish Cup, and Alison was at one of the two big derbies over the weekend in the women's game. We'll get her thoughts on that. You can give us your thoughts by first and foremost posting them on our YouTube channel's feed, and if you hit the subscribe button you'll join the football family, because it is of course uncensored, unbiased and unmatched, and if you join us you can offer us your opinion and we'll react to it as well, and it's absolutely free to do so. And if you download the app then you will be able to watch the programme on your phone or your tablet, and also you'll get all the breaking football news as well, and there's lots of it to discuss today. We've got a competition, we've got two running at the moment, but one of them you can enter it at any stage. It is absolutely free to play, and if you know your stocks and shares you're in with a chance with our World Cup Fandex competition.
Come and join PLZ Soccer on Fandex for our FIFA World Cup 2022 stock exchange game. It's absolutely free to play and you have the chance to win some great cash prizes. You can buy shares in your favourite team and watch their stock price increase or decrease based on their real life World Cup performances against the expected points tally set by Fandex. You can buy and sell as many teams as you like, as often as you like, with winners being announced after every round. The PLZ Soccer family are waiting for you on Fandex. Head to plzsoccer.com and click on Fandex World Cup 2022.
Yep, easy game, good to look forward to, and at the end of every stage there's a chance to win yourself some cash prizes. All you have to do is look at the form of the countries, buy into them, and then when you think it's the ideal time to sell, that's what you do, and you can enter it at any stage, so good luck with that. We've got another great competition a little later on to tell you about. There's lots of things happening on PLZ Soccer, and hopefully with a bit of luck you'll be able to tap into some of the great prizes we're giving away. So just before we get to our first story, here's our quiz question for today. How many goals has Ronaldo scored for Portugal throughout his career? How many goals? If you think you know the answer to that, then by all means offer your opinion on it and we'll give you the answer by the end of today's programme. Okay, let's get into the meat and bones of the big story. Everybody's waiting on the announcement that Michael Beale is the new Rangers manager. It hasn't quite happened yet, as our reporter Kerry Pollock was sent out to Ibrox to see if there was going to be that big announcement.
Today is the day Rangers fans will be hoping that their managerial problems will be put to bed if their former coach Michael Beale is appointed manager here at Rangers Football Club after the departure of Giovanni van Bronckhorst. It's understood that Beale has already spoken to the Rangers board. He's at the training ground today and he's happy with whatever the transfer budget may be. I spoke to some Rangers fans to find out what their expectations are from their new boss, if the league title is still salvageable, and how important it is for the new boss, whoever it may be, to have a little bit of control over their new signings.
I would be happy with it to see a change of plan, because obviously we haven't really been producing much of late, and unfortunately Gio had to go, but he was such a lovely guy, past and present, but nevertheless, we need a change, and I think he's the man to do it.
Salvageable, yeah, there's still a couple of fun games still to go, and again, you never know what could happen over the other side of the city.
And I think he would take the job if he's not going to get control over who he signs and who plays, simple as that.
Michael Beale is the bookies' favourites to get the managerial job here at Rangers Football Club. Will he exceed everyone's expectations if he is appointed or not? Only time will tell. We'll keep you up to date with all the breaking news stories and our unique video content across all of PLZ Soccer's social media platforms.
Yeah, thanks to Kerry out there at Ibrox. Well, all the talk's about a 3.5-year deal, which would show a real commitment to him, Ruffy.
Yeah, he seems to have ticked all the Rangers boxes, you know, what they're looking for, somebody to come in, knows the players, you know, and by all means, behind the scenes he did particularly well when he was there, but I think he'll be laying down a few rules before he signs that 3.5 year. I think he has to, like one of the guys there had touched on, he needs 100% control on who he's bringing in. First of all, he needs to look at the injury list, who he's got to come back, and the bottom line is how much money is he going to get to spend?
Yeah, that's an interesting one, because obviously Giovanni van Bronckhorst released a statement over the weekend about his time at Rangers. This is what he had to say on his departure. The opportunity to manage an institution like Rangers is a privilege which very few are afforded. As a former player, I understood the responsibility and magnitude of the task. My background team and I worked with energy, passion, and were driven with a belief that we could achieve amazing things. We treated our roles with respect, optimism and determination. We experienced some incredible highs, especially on our European journey to Seville, winning the Scottish Cup for the first time in over a decade and qualifying for the group stages of the Champions League. The passion of our support drove us on to achieve those wonderful memories, and for that I am forever grateful to every single one of you who travelled near and far, spent your hard-earned money and never gave up. This season, like every year at Rangers, the first priority is domestic success. I understand the hurt when wins become draws and worse when we experience defeat. That isn't acceptable at a club of Rangers standing. No one understood that and felt that more than I did. I faced unique challenges and some very difficult circumstances to operate in. Rangers will always be in my heart, and I wish the club all the success for the future. Once a Ranger, always a Ranger. Well, I'm sure a lot of people, and especially when Kerry was interviewing that Rangers fan out at Ibrox, there's a lot of people who respect Giovanni van Bronckhorst for what he achieved. The longer statement hints that maybe that budget wasn't as forthcoming as he would have liked.
Yeah, I think the obvious line in that is the unique challenges that he speaks about and alludes to. I think that would indicate that maybe his hands were tied a bit when it came to strengthening this summer and really investing in a squad who'd got to a European final, which I think is a fantastic achievement. I don't think you can undermine just how extraordinary that was for him to take the club to Seville, but I think domestically it's just been so lacklustre this season, and I don't see a way out of that other than investing in the playing squad come January. And I think that will be one of the big question marks that will hang over the heads of Rangers fans looking now to a new regime, and a new chapter will be where are the finances to support the club going forward.
Yeah, the big question that I think a lot of people are asking on this one is he the right man? Is he the cheap option? Will he get what he's looking for as far as a budget is concerned? All of those things are in the mix, Tam. I stand by what I said about it. I think it's a huge gamble on a man with inexperience taking on a role at a club like Rangers, which is absolutely not only huge but all-consuming.
Yeah, I think it is a gamble. I think the bottom line is they're going from because he's been there before. He's been there with Steven Gerrard, the success there. He's went down to QPR and he's done reasonably well. I think he got off to a flying start down there, but I think over the last 5 or 6 games have been really poor. So I think the moves came at a good time for him. You know, maybe come under a little bit of pressure at QPR, but you know, every managerial job is a gamble. But I just think that he ticks a lot of boxes for Rangers, and I think he knows the players, knows the club. And I think this has been done in the background maybe a week or two ago. I think this has been done maybe whilst Van Bronckhorst has still been in the job, which doesn't quite sit well with me.
Yeah, in a strange... I know you mentioned that on your Twitter about the fact that he was there with maybe one of his coaching staff prior to Giovanni van Bronckhorst getting the sack. I mean, if you were to read his words from the approach from Wolves, you would have thought there wasn't a catch chance in hell he was going to join Rangers. I mean, he said it was a real privilege to be asked to speak to Wolves, but I didn't think it was the right moment because I entered into an agreement here, and integrity is a real big thing for me. I've been all in here, and I've asked other people to be all in, so I can't be the first person to run away from the ship. That wasn't that long ago.
I think those words will haunt him a bit. I think when he came out so strongly and knocked Wolves back and came out, he didn't just say, no, I want to stay at QPR, I'm in the right place just now. He really laid it on with that statement. And when you speak about integrity and then a couple of weeks later you're moving to Rangers, I think it does invite a criticism of that. I know there's a suggestion that he was told to hang fire with Wolves because the Rangers job was going to become available. I don't know if there's much truth in that, because I think if you had any inkling, I don't think you would be quite so strong with your words. I think you might have couched it slightly differently, but certainly I think QPR fans won't be shy in reminding him of that. of the words that he'd spoken at that time.
Yeah, the other aspect of this that doesn't sit well with me, and I think at the end of the day, I think Rangers fans will welcome him, and I get a really strong feeling from a lot of the Rangers fans that I was speaking to, Ruffy, that they're looking forward to him coming in. The only thing that doesn't sit with me on this one is, he's undoubtedly got great coaching skills. How great, we're about to find out. But it kind of, in a way, it's almost as if he was the driving force behind what Steven Gerrard achieved at Rangers. Steven Gerrard's remit was win the league. It was Steven Gerrard who was the manager. Yeah. It was Steven Gerrard, aided and abetted by Gary McAllister and Michael Beale.
Yeah, it's an enormous job, when you're at one of the big two, and generally, what you have is you have your manager who manages the whole club, and you have a coach who takes the training and does all that stuff, and that's what Beale did.
Yeah, under the guidance of the manager.
But now he is the number one. Now he has got to decide, how much of the coaching can he take part in this, because there's a lot of things go being a manager of the big two. Your phone probably ringing every day, so you need to delegate. So it'll be interesting how much hands-on he'll get. That's why I said earlier, I think it'll be interesting which group he brings with him. It will be 2 or 3 or whoever, so it'll be interesting to see what kind of calibre they are, if they're coaches or past managers or somebody with Rangers tradition or even somebody like Walter Smith, somebody who could take the bigger picture on, and he could do what he's good at.
Yeah, that's not happening. I mean, the general feeling is it's going to be Kevin Thompson. The other aspect, did you see the point I'm getting at, Tam? It's almost as if, Michael Beale was responsible for the success.
Yeah, he's obviously took a lot of credit for that, and it was Steven Gerrard who stopped 10 in a row. He was the manager, but there seems to be this, inkling between the Rangers supporters that Beale was the brains behind the outfit, and he took all the training, and Gerrard was just a name, and it was Beale. It was all down to Beale, and obviously Beale left Aston Villa in the summer there when Gerrard obviously was the manager, and Aston Villa went kind of down the stank when Beale left. So again, that's added to that. I think that's added to his legend amongst the Rangers supporters. So I think there is a lot of Rangers fans who are happy he's here. He's going to be the Rangers manager, but that can all change in a matter of weeks. If he doesn't get off to a good start, then the dissenting voices will be he's not experienced enough, and the knives will be sharpened. So he needs to get off to a good start.
Well, my personal opinion is when he's unveiled, Alison, is quite simply this season is time to bed in. I mean, it's got to be. He's 9 points behind. Michael Beale's got to be given time to get maybe something out of a January transfer window, maybe offload the deadwood, and then look to the summer to have a real transfer. And remember, that transfer money in the summer will be heavily backed once again by Rangers supporters, unless Douglas Park pulls out investment from somewhere else that's going to give him, an even bigger kitty.
I think what Rangers fans will want to see between January and the summer is a big step in the right direction. I think you would want to see a clear style, a clear philosophy about the team, a clear mark in how they play. And I think also they'll want to see changes in terms of first team personnel. I think there's a number of players there that have probably been too long at the club, that have maybe stagnated. I think there needs to be a freshness, there needs to be a turnover of first team players, some of which will happen in January, some of which may happen in the summer. But I think for the next few months it's about solidifying results, steadying things on the pitch and not dropping silly points. Like when you look at the way Rangers have played, it's been stayed. Even games that they were winning 1-0, 2-1, you've not seen stylish performances. I think there'll be a desire and a drive to compete between now and the end of the season, to put as much pressure on Celtic as you can. I think realistically, none of us here would expect Celtic to lose the title now. I think it should be a procession for Ange Postecoglou's side to go towards the Championship. It's up to Rangers to ask as many questions of them as they possibly can. There's 3 derby games left in which you can do that, but what they'll look for is a consistency of domestic performance there.
Yeah, the one thing about it, and I think this is the key element here, Ruffy, I think a lot of Rangers fans want to see the team battling. They want to see a bit of fight. They want to see, certainly, I thought the team had lost direction. I thought they became very predictable and slow under Giovanni Van Bronckhorst this season anyway. At the highs of last season, I'm quickly been forgotten because they've lost so much ground to Celtic. But as Alison mentioned there, the key point here is you're banking, and some pundits I've been listening to are banking on a complete collapse by Celtic, which I think is a complete nonsense to suggest that, because they've already signed 2 players and they're still looking to sign another one before they get to the end of the window. So this is a Celtic side that not only is 9 points in front, but is building from a position of strength.
Yeah, they're building for the future as well. You know, they're identifying young players, you know, who are going to be about for 4 or 5 years. So on that side, they're looking way ahead. But if you ask any Rangers supporter or anybody at Rangers, they'll believe they can turn this round. That's the way football supporters are. They'll think if he goes into the transfer market and brings in 2 or 3 quality players, and Alice touched on it, the next game is Celtic at Ibrox. I know Celtic are way ahead of them, but there's no given that they're going to win that game. Anything can happen in a derby, so they'll be hanging on to anything that's going about. Semi-final, you know, they'll be thinking they can get into a final, they'll be thinking they can win a cup. So although Celtic, I think, are head and shoulders in front of them, supporters at any club will tell you they think they can turn it round.
Yeah, and that's the key point on this, Tam, because quite simply, if you think they can turn it round, then you're looking at the new manager coming in, looking at what's available to him, and then he's got Hibs, Aberdeen, Ross County, Motherwell, and then Celtic.
It's quite a tough run of games. I think obviously Hibs always raise their game against Celtic, Rangers, particularly Rangers. Aberdeen away is always hard, Ross County away, so you know, Alison touched on it there. They've got to, their domestic performances have got to improve. They've got to be beating your St Mirrens and St Johnstones and that comfortably again. You know, just to get the fans back on side, get the confidence up, you know, and a bit of belief back into the team that they can go and beat Celtic. Because if they're still struggling, you know, to win those games, you know, I don't think they're going to go into that derby game with a great deal of confidence at Ibrox. So I think if they can win every game up until that Celtic game, you know, an opportunity to take it down to 6, maybe Celtic drop a point or whatever, a couple of points, and I think that'll be that's in the foremost of the manager's mind.
Yeah.
What you need to see between now and the summer is evidence that this team can go and challenge for the title next season under Michael Beale. I think that's what supporters will want to see, genuine evidence that this is a championship worthy team.
Yeah, the one thing I think he's got a major job in his hands immediately, Ruffy, is he has a number of ageing players that clearly are obviously in the twilight of their career, whether they eventually hang up their gloves in Alan McGregor. Steve Davis has got a decision to make. Is Scott Arfield got a future long term there? Once he gets to that point, then of course there's the Morelos and Kent factor. That's the immediate one for January, because they were the 2 that everybody was talking about, and then all of a sudden Joe Aribo and Calvin Bassey go out the door. So he's got all those dilemmas, and I think he's got to look, and say to himself, okay, what's coming through from the youth in the reserves that could potentially come in, and can I generate money by selling players, and have I got some kitty to get 2 or 3 players that are certainly better than the 7 that Ross Wilson helped identify, because we've all agreed that Cholak has really been the star man of the 7.
Well, that's one of the reasons he's been given the job, because he'll be head and shoulders above anybody they gave it in assessing the players that should be at Rangers and the players shouldn't be. He's been training them for the last couple of years. Most of them, he knows their strengths and weaknesses. He'll know that exact situation with these 2 players you're saying. He's the one that's got to make the decision to move them on, and I think if he does move them on, I don't think he'll have any complaints for the Rangers supporters. I think he'll be doing the right thing. But you're right in everything you're saying. It's a massive job for him, and he's got to get the decisions right. He's got to get the right players in. He's got to get as many of his big players that are injured just now back again. He's got to get a settled 11 players that they used to have. That used to be the same 11 that turned out every week. That's not been the case for the last 6 months.
Yeah, Hugh says, Peter, was a school of thought that Steven Gerrard failed at Aston Villa because Beale left. I'm not so sure about that, but time will tell how being a manager suits him. So there's quite a few people obviously offering their own thoughts on how they think he's going to do. Thank you very much to everyone who's offering their opinion on this. You can hit the subscribe button on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. You're certainly going to see a lot of activity and a lot of one-to-ones and different bits of content that we hope you will buy into over the next couple of months and join the football family. It's absolutely free to watch us Monday to Friday, but the app has all the breaking football stories as well for you as well as the website. So with that, we did talk about Rangers. I mean, Celtic clearly, Kobayashi already in, done and dusted, 5-year deal. Now, Alistair Johnston, we watched him there playing for Canada in the right back position. That deal looks as if it's going to be worth $3 million, and he's the second man in the door.
Yeah, I just wonder if that might open the door in the other direction for Josip Juranovic. I wonder if he might head elsewhere in January. I think there's been ample interest in him over the summer and then again in January. And I thought Ange Postecoglou was very interesting a few weeks ago when we spoke to him post AGM, when he was saying, you know, he doesn't fear a high turnover of players, that he relishes that he doesn't want supporters being too attached to players, because there'll be a fairly significant turnover while he's in charge. Of always, if there's offers coming in, he'll let players go and he'll look to elevate the standard of player that comes in to replace him. And I think on the evidence of the World Cup, I think Celtic fans will be quite pleased at what Alistair Johnston's presented so far. I think he looks very much like a Postecoglou player from what you've seen in recent games from Canada. He's got that energy, he's got the attacking drive, he's a full-back that's going to look to get forward and work within the parameters of how he likes to play. And
you know better than most, Tam, there's nothing better for players, if you are at the top of your game, suddenly to see fresh faces coming in, and then, you know, it stimulates you. You've got to say, I want to stay in this team.
Yeah, competition for places, I think anywhere is vital. I think if you've got a quality player breathing down your neck, you've got to produce every week, you've got to play well, because you know there's a guy sitting in the touchline, you know, waiting to come into you and take your place. So I've been really impressed with Alistair Johnston. I think that Ali's spot on. I think the way he goes forward, the way he attacks, he overlaps. You know, he switches of play, a lot of good switches of play last night. He's got energy, he's got pace, good age, 24, you know, athletic. So he ticks a lot of boxes. And Juranovic, I thought, had a poor game last night. I know Croatia won the game, but I think he looks like an upgrade at the minute. You know, just by what I've seen of Juranovic this season. And I mentioned that a few months ago. I didn't think he was quite at his best this season, and I felt as if that was an area that Celtic would try and strengthen, and it looks as if they're going to do that. And you know, Ange is ruthless. You know, Juranovic has done well for Celtic. It's been a good signing, but if he believes that Johnston's better, then Juranovic about the door and Johnston's in.
Yeah, a wee bit worried about you with this. Don't analyse everybody over one game. You know,
I've seen him in the first game as well, and I've seen him a bit in MLS.
Yeah, I mean, I played 5-a-sides with you and I needed a new hip, and I felt as if you were quite judgmental early on, whereas now that I'm getting back to full fitness, I think you might see there'll be a different 5-a-side game.
You had an excuse that day, thankfully.
Yeah.
Your man did.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can give us your thoughts on that. Just talking about players coming in and out and players that you want to see hit for him. There seems to be, I don't know, he got his 45 minutes back, Kevin Nisbet, in the 2-0 loss to Middlesbrough for Hibs. The Highbees fans will be looking forward to him coming back. But, I mean, you and I were not impressed with him before he went out, because he didn't have any great form. You and I were sitting in the studio, I remember it clearly, where we're looking and saying, he's just not hit the heights that everybody was hoping for. And then, sadly for Kevin Nisbet, he picked up an injury.
Yeah, I think when he first came in, Kevin, I thought he was outstanding. He showed that hunger and desire, coming from a lower league into Hibs, a big opportunity for him. I thought up until he never got his move to Birmingham, I thought he was outstanding. And I don't know if he was disappointed he never got his move or whatever, but after that I didn't quite seem the same player. But you know, he came on 45 minutes, great for him. You know, I've come back from long-term injuries myself. Just to get that first game out of the way is massively important. Somebody comes in, clatters you, you maybe ping a shot, just everything's working as it should be, and I'm sure he'll take a lot of confidence from that. But I think he'll come back a better player. I think having that spell out, watching games, you know, I felt that myself. When you're seeing your full-backs putting balls into areas every week, you're watching for the stand, you think to yourself, right, that's where I've got to be when I get back. And I think you'll see an improved player. I think physically he'll be improved as well, spending a lot of time in the gym, bulking himself up, and he'll be desperate to get back into the swing of things at Hibs. And I think he'll be like a new signing for Lee Johnson.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing. You know, if he's looking to get back in quickly, I'm looking at the games. We're talking about managers and how that we're living in an era where it's a knee-jerk, quick response, want things to be going your way. Lee Johnson's got Rangers, Livingston, Celtic and Hearts. Now, if I was thinking about a manager under pressure and I'd picking 4 teams I didn't want to face, that's the 4.
Yeah, I think that obviously he's lost 6 out of 7 going into the break. I think that Kilmarnock game down there was huge. If he'd have won that, it'd have just took a bit of pressure off him. He's 6 out of 7. You've got Livingston at home, who are very, very tough to play against. Hibs have, I think, lost heavily to them at home last season. Jack Ross lost his job at Livingston in a defeat as well. So they are a bogey team, and then you've got Celtic Rangers Hearts. So very, very difficult on the games for him, but he's got to get results. There's got to be a clear pathway. There's got to be Hibs supporters have got to look at the team and think, right, we're going to get better. There's going to be improvement there after the break. If they don't, then they will turn on him.
Yeah, well,
still got 5 transfer windows to get it sorted out.
but you know what, Rob, it's funny you say that, because I'm thinking, sometimes, especially every fan of every club in the Scottish Premiership looks and thinks, okay, January, the window opens, you can start drafting players in, but the derbies come right at the start of it, so the odds of you bringing in somebody that's going to go straight in. I mean, can you remember any player that was signed and brought straight into a big derby? The one that I remember was brought in, but he was brought back, was Mark Hateley in a derby that Rangers, were just, desperate to get somebody up front at the time, because I think they had a number of injuries. But can you think of anybody who's been signed and thrown in right away in a derby match
last season?
Yeah, Martin Boyle's a good shout.
His first game, he come off the bench, he'd literally just come off the plane and scored the equaliser in the last minute.
Yeah, it's a good shout.
I can't think of any at all.
I mean, it is a tough call to do it, isn't it, Ali?
I think it's very challenging. I think especially when you consider maybe a Celtic Rangers game and you don't know what you're walking into, the intensity of what you're walking into, the pace with which the game is played. I think it's a very difficult environment to go into anyway.
And the Edinburgh derby's at Easter Road this one in January, so...
I think that game...
No, Tynecastle, sorry, Matt, I beg your pardon. Hearts against Tynecastle.
I think the next block of games are huge for Lee Johnson. I think absolutely massive. I think if there's any...
Huge in a job sense?
Yes.
Yeah?
I think if there's any faltering across those games... Celtic and Rangers, I think you could say you're maybe not going to anticipate taking too much from, but you go back to, was it 7-0 at Celtic Park earlier in the season? 7-1, 7-0? You think you just can't afford to come off the back of another result like that, and then against Livingston and Hearts, they have to compete, they have to take something from it. Yeah,
nice to see a little bit of a good news story going on, not only with Nisbet but Josh Doig. It looks as if there's more than a few in Serie A who'll be sniffing around him in the window. I mean, between him and at Bologna, got his move to Brentford, Aaron Hickey. It's been, the rise has been incredible, some speed.
Yep, I think it's great. It's great for our game. It's great for Scottish football that the Italian teams are coming and picking our players up, young players, and selling them on. I think Aaron Hickey was a great example of that. He went there for a couple of £1 million and then got a massive move to Brentford. I think Josh Doig has got all the attributes to be a top player. I'm really impressed with him. He came through in the COVID season when there was no fans there, and he got Young Player of the Year, and then he struggled a little bit the next season because there was fans back in and he wasn't used to it. So I think it's particularly at Hibs when they're a demanding crowd. So once he got over that little slow start, he powered and he was really very, very good. So I think he's another one, that Hibs will have a sell on. I think if he goes to another Italian team or a big English team, then Hibs will get a few quid out of that. But it's great to see that. And Lewis Ferguson's another one, obviously at Bologna, who's went there. So I think that the Italian teams are looking at Scottish football and thinking they can pick up bargains here and they can pick up good young quality players and sell them on.
Yeah, no surprise that Ryan Porteous said he's not going to be signing a new deal. I think
water's wet as well.
Yeah, we all knew that.
No, he was never signing a new deal, let's be honest. I think after that performance against Ukraine, where he was outstanding, they came to a lot of teams' attention, but he's not been playing particularly well at the minute, so I don't think he's that big a loss. I think he'll go and he'll get a good move, and hopefully he goes somewhere like England or somewhere abroad and just concentrates on his football, because I think that's been he feels kind of persecuted. I think, and Lee Johnson touched on that with the media here. I don't personally think that, but I think he will think that, and he'll want to get out of Scottish football and try and flourish elsewhere.
Yeah, okay. Got to talk about the Scottish Cup over the weekend. No problem for you on the part, Ruffy, but a few demonstrations off the part for the old Jags.
Yes, they did. I think there was about 30 supporters or something like that. Braved the conditions outside. I was interested where they took up their space, to do the protest. When it got dark, nobody could see them. So that was a wee bonus.
Did the rain come on you were asking for?
No, I'm glad they never got wet.
Yeah,
Glad they never got wet.
There's a board member who put a lot of thought into it. I mean, listen, from my perspective on it, Ruffy, I think everybody is entitled to voice their concerns over something that they feel is, I don't know, not the expected ending they wanted for it. I wonder if there's any value. What would your message be to them now if there's any value in continuing these protests? Because it looks as if everything has been settled. Yeah. Is it time to move on for them?
No, I think that they still feel as if they've got something to say, and quite right, if they're upset about how they thought it was organised. You know, they've got every right to protest if they want. But the fifth thing they've got to do is think about the team, think about the players, you know, think about, you know, what's ahead, you know, and you don't want to go through the whole season, you know, suffering protests at every game. It just takes your eye off the ball. But no, I'm sure once the Partick Thistle Trust, they are getting themselves organised, they're going to start communicating with these supporters, you know, and I'm sure they're hoping they could maybe, you know, turn them round.
Yeah, no problems for you on the park, 3-0 Kelty?
No, we got Ross Docherty back, another player, captain back again, you know, and made a big difference for the time he was on the park, but unfortunately the referee gave him a red card. I don't know whether we're appealing it or not. It was absolutely, I don't like blaming referees as started or referees, but it didn't look like sending off for me.
Right, okay, well, we'll wait to see if you're going to appeal it. I've got to mention one of my pals who highlighted to me, great result for Drumchapel, 1-0 over Edinburgh. What a fantastic result that is, isn't it?
It was. I think they're seventh level down. Edinburgh City, you know, League One, doing quite well in the League One, so that was a big result. But I seen the pitch, Maryhill Juniors Park, and it was ripe for an upset. I mean, it was a mud bath. Not taking anything away from Drumchapel, but it was everything was right on the day for them to upset Edinburgh. But Darvel as well, you know, great result for them away to Montrose. So it just shows you that there's clubs further down the pyramid, ambitious clubs who are capable of beating the big boys.
Yeah, well, Darvel have got a good few players who could easily still be playing up at the top end. You know, Ian McShane, I think, has got a League Cup winners medal.
I think he's got a hat-trick.
Is playing there. So, interesting times. And we're going to talk World Cup, but as ever, we always like to give you the chance to get involved in our competition. And I'll let Kerry tell you about the details of it.
PLZ Soccer has teamed up with our friends at Grieve Sports and Copa to offer you the fabulous chance to win one of these World Cup retro shirts if you enter our World Cup hat-trick competition. All you have to do is tell us who you think will win the World Cup, finish top goal scorer, and who will be declared player of the tournament. The person who gets all three correct will go into a draw to win one of 6 vouchers to choose their very own retro World Cup shirt from the Grieve Sports website. And if you don't get all 3 correct, then don't worry. You can still subscribe to our YouTube channel for a chance to win. To enter, simply submit your answers in the feed below, and if you want to double your chances of winning, then make sure you subscribe to PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. The winner will be announced on the day of the World Cup final. Good luck.
Yeah, 6 vouchers, Ruffy, and I have to tell you, we were in Grieve Sports looking at these retro shirts. Fantastic.
Yeah, they were good on display. I think anybody goes in, I think there is a display in the shop. If you go into Greaves, you can have a look and get a heads up and see them up front. Argentina one's still my favourite. You know, if I was to get one, that would be my pick.
Yeah, some good ones in there, and of course, sometimes it's good to get people involved in a competition because it can then maybe, if they've got a chance of winning, maybe they become less obnoxious and pick fights in the family. You know, great chance for Joe, your son, to get involved in the competition, Ali. He's at that rough age, isn't he?
Enough picking fights.
Brilliant. I might do it myself for mine. Anyway, it's a good competition, and some of the retro tops are absolutely magnificent. Good luck with the competition. Ali, Tam and Ruffy here with us, and all our pundits over the course of the year. I'm delighted that you have shown us your support, especially with our subscribers and the views for not only the main football show, but of course all the other content. We're bringing you news. Our reporters Kerry and Adam are out there, and when the football starts back, we'll be bringing you more reports from other games in the Scottish Premiership and beyond. So it's getting bigger week by week, and hopefully you will join us and spread the word. And thanks to everyone who's been showing us their support. World Cup. Well, Ali, I think the first round, I thought a lot of the games were pretty boring, pretty stale, negative, don't lose. suddenly, it's maybe starting to spark into life. There's a wee bit from the excitement of Messi. Some of the African countries have provided us with some goals, and of course I liked Canada because they had that kind of naivety of the way you want to go and see football, which is attack.
Yeah, I would agree with all of that. I think it was maybe reflective of the fact that teams were thrown together without really much preparation when you consider when domestic leagues closed up and then they were almost straight into a World Cup without really having an opportunity for what you would normally have, which would be a break and then a bit of training with teammates before the tournament started. So I think it was maybe reflective of the lack of preparation time that they had before the game started. But I think today's games have maybe been the best that we've seen. I thought the game this morning, the Cameroon game this morning was pretty exciting. I think that's the games that you're wanting to see, a kind of open end-to-end, lots of goals. You'd like to think as it opens up a bit now that teams will come out and start to have a goal because their livelihood in the tournament depends on it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, you could see that sometimes when the penny drops, Ruffy, that you're going to be heading out. I mean, Wales threw everything and then all of a sudden Iran hit them, I think deservedly so, with two fantastic goals. I mean, Iran deserved their win over Wales. I think Wales realised that even though England's on the horizon, they might be heading out.
Yeah, I couldn't see where Wales were going to get their goal from. They were pretty solid and everything else they'd done, but I couldn't see them scoring. And then obviously Hennessy getting sent off, just fell into the trap. And now you're right, they didn't deserve anything out of the game, but they will believe that because it's a sort of England-Wales game that they could maybe.
What score four?
Is that what they've got? No, I think they could maybe win it.
5 actually.
No,
not 5.
I think it's
no, but I think what they want to do is win it. Oh, all right, they're not going to score that, but I would like to think that they would believe that they could win it, and then that would be a big scalp, because England really need to do something.
Yeah, well, it's funny you saying that because Joe Allen certainly thinks they can still qualify.
Not impossible, no. It's a tough task. It's always uncomfortable when it's obviously not in your hands and you're relying on certain things to unfold.
It's not a nice feeling, but to be honest, we don't need fans to boo us for us to know that we've not played as well as we could have. I feel like it's a feeling that was mutual amongst the group, that we could have done better.
Yeah, I think Marcus Rashford highlighting there that England fans sometimes with the expectation not only of the supporters but sometimes their media elevate them to a point where I think it's very difficult to achieve what the expectation level is, and the fans have been showing their disgust at the way they played in the match against USA, England, but I still stick by the opinion that quite most of us have given on this. I don't see England winning the World Cup. I can see them beating Wales though.
Yeah, I think they'll beat Wales comfortably. I think they've obviously bounced back from a lot of criticism from the USA game, but obviously they beat Iran 6-2 and people were thinking, oh, this is the real deal, and there's a lot of hype, but she's always the way with England. And they came straight back down to earth with a poor performance against a very athletic USA team, but I don't see them having any problems against Wales. I think that'll be interesting to see if the Wales manager drops Ramsey and Beale. He's getting a lot of criticism for playing both of those guys who have hardly kicked the ball for their clubs this season. Alison sitting there with a smirk on her face, but no, I think that it'll be interesting to see if he sticks with those guys or he goes with two younger players.
Well, somebody sent me a tweet that came out, Ali, just with regards to England. Since 2006, these are the teams that England have beaten at World Cups that they've been involved in: Iran, Tunisia, Panama, Colombia on penalties, Sweden, Slovenia, Paraguay, Trinidad and Tobago and Ecuador.
Yeah, it's hardly a list of world heavyweights that are in there.
No.
That's very interesting, actually, because I haven't seen any evidence at all that would suggest that England are capable of winning the World Cup. I think they'll go out the group stages. I don't think they'll go particularly deep into the tournament. And I say that, I think a lot of teams haven't been hugely impressive yet. I think Spain have, France have, Brazil have. I think you're still to see Argentina really hit top gear, but I think I just don't think England have got the quality to really go and challenge to win it.
But what is the permutation for England, Spain or Germany in the next round?
Potentially.
Yeah.
And France in the quarters.
Here's the odds, Ruffy. What do you make of it? The teams that could potentially win it: 5-2 Brazil, 6-1 Spain, 8-1 England, which again I think it's a fixation with the Premier League, which is full of foreign players. France at 11-2, Argentina 7-1, Germany 12-1. Now I have to say I was absolutely delighted to see Messi get his goal.
Yeah, but I'm not convinced with him yet. You know, I think you have to wait until somebody tests one another. No, two of the big ones play each other. I've got a tendency for France just now.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is. I think they've got good up front.
I hope you're right, Ruffy. I've got them in the
street. I know that. And their midfield are pretty solid and they're strong. I just think they're playing with a lot of confidence just now. But it'll be interesting to see when they get their first test. You know how they stand up to that.
Yeah, and it's not. And I have to be honest with you, it's not. And I mean, I know from your own point of view, from being a former Scotland player, there's that kind of a real edge and element over England. I don't think it's anti-English. I think the point here is you've got to look at teams and see where their strengths are, and you know whether you think they can win it based on the team that he continually picks. You know. Far be it from me, I think a number of pundits have suggested how Phil Foden is not getting picked escapes me. But I think their weakest link is when they come up against really good teams. If they meet a big team, I think I think Harry Maguire and John Stones are in for a rough time.
I would agree with you. I think Harry Kane is the only player you would say within that England squad that would be in the bracket of world class. I think if you take Kane out, it's a very average team. I think there are good players in there, and I think there has been some cohesion with them. We saw it at the European Championships, but I just think they're lacking. When you see them against very good quality teams, I think they still lack a bit of depth.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, who have you got this week, Tom?
Argentina and Ghana.
We're still in with a shout then. You've got
Ghana got a good result today. They're still in it.
Yeah, I know. Absolutely. Ali, you just had to get money in, haven't you?
It was Uruguay and Japan.
Yeah.
So was that?
Definitely Uruguay.
You put a fiver on
Japan.
that. So a fiver. Yeah. You lose a fiver.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly. Ali's just there to make up the numbers for this one, which is
congratulations, Ali.
Wait a minute, you won the head-to-head last year. I mean, for God's sake.
Ecuador.
Yeah.
And two.
The other one's not important, really.
Because you're gone anyway. Right, that's fine.
Storm brewing.
Yes, exactly. You get Ecuador and USA, so it's your goose.
Chance.
Yeah, what, of making the next round?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Just as a little footnote to that, a couple of things I want to draw your attention to. At the weekend, it's one of those situations where over Saturday and Sunday you're thinking you're planning your whole day. Then, funnily enough, I get a quick call to say, remember, the 26th is a day when there's a special unveiling of a statue out at Bells Hill. So, after a wee bit of training, headed out there to Bells Hill and watched a number of Celtic fans all get to the cross at Bells Hill for the unveiling of a statue of one of their own, because Billy McNeill was born in Bells Hill and went to Our Lady's High School, and in the end ended up becoming a professional footballer playing for Celtic, and the rest, as they say, is history, according to Adam Binney, who was out there.
On the 26th of November, Liz McNeill, the wife of Celtic's greatest ever captain, Billy McNeill, unveiled a statue in honour of the man who led Celtic to European Cup glory in 1967 in Lisbon. Billy McNeill was born in Bells Hill, and his statue is situated here, right in the heart of his hometown. Thanks to the efforts of a committee who worked closely with the local council, they managed to convince them that Caesar was worthy of recognition in the area that he was brought up. The McNeill family, Lisbon Lions and many other teammates joined close friends and fans alongside two of Billy's great friends and adversaries on the field, greatest ever Ranger John Gregg and Willie Henderson, to witness the unveiling of the statue created by artist John McKenna. Billy McNeill won 9 league titles, 7 Scottish Cups, 6 League Cups and the ultimate prize, the European Cup. The statue depicts McNeill walking out onto the field at the Estadio de Nacional ahead of their match against Inter Milan. Celtic defeated the Italian side by 2-1, with Tommy Gemmell and Stevie Chalmers scoring the goals that allowed McNeill to win Europe's greatest prize, McNeil said his biggest regret in football was not having his teammates alongside him to lift the famous trophy. McNeil won 31 major trophies with Celtic, going on to lead the club as manager to 4 league titles, 3 Scottish Cups and 1 League Cup. Celtic's greatest ever captain passed away on the 22nd of April 2019, aged 79, after a long battle with dementia. Billy McNeil will never be forgotten by the Celtic support, and fans from around the world can now visit a statue of their greatest ever captain, both at Celtic Park and of this new sculpture here in his hometown of Bellshill.
Yeah, it was an emotional day for the McNeil family, Ruffy, but what a turnout for them there on the day for Liz to see all those Celtic supporters there.
Yeah, I mean, that's where his roots started, you know, that's where he started his career, you know, and it's good that they went back there and all. I mean, fans just love turning up to that kind of thing, you know, and the family, we know that his sons as well, you know, that obviously sadly missed, but not forgotten.
Well, I thought it was a great day, especially when most of the family and his friends and of course his teammates were in the hotel before going out there, and they're sitting there again to pay tribute to him was his great friend John Gregg, and Willie Henderson was there. And I mean, Willie Henderson was forever synonymous with Jimmy Johnson. The two of them were great pals, but Willie Henderson and Billy McNeil as well, great friends. That's the joy of it all. Football is just a sport, it's just a game, Ali. It's not life and death. And these people were able to understand the enormity of battling for your team, but you could walk away and become friends away from the game.
I think there was a great respect between them. I think that's evident. I don't think it was superficial or manufactured in any way. I think it was a genuine friendship and respect between them, and I think that's been shown throughout the years in the latter stages of their lives, and in moments such of that. I thought it was a very classy touch from both of them to go along, and I think most Celtic fans would be very appreciative of their presence and the fact that they were there just to pay their respects.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, you know, the local people will be, I think, respectful of the fact he was from Bellshill. He's got a statue there and at Celtic Park, and rightly so. In my opinion, I think that whole Celtic walkway should be every Lisbon Lions statue.
Yeah, it should be. I think maybe they've got plans for that in the future. I don't know, but that will never be repeated. You know, Celtic win the European Cup. You know, struggle out of the groups now, so it just shows you how big a thing that was at the time. You know, for Celtic becoming the first British club to win the European Cup, you know, is an unbelievable honour. And I actually drive by that wee bit every day, going down to coach at Bradehurst, go through Bellshill. So I'll maybe stop one day next week when I'm down there and have a wee look at it. But the statue looks brilliant. Some of the statues are shocking. They don't look like the person.
Yeah.
Ronaldo springs to mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that one is a great statue, very well done, and I hope it's respected by other supporters, that they appreciate that it's there and they keep it all nice and clean and tidy.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, Tam, because I mean, Jimmy Johnson's, you know, an accurate reflection of him. Billy McNeil, I think John Gregg's in memory of the people who lost their life in the Ibrox disaster. I think that's a great statue. Sir Alex Ferguson. Jim McLean's up at Tannadice now as well. I mean, there's lots of them going up, and I think it's right that people remember Alison, people who've made a huge contribution to the history of a club.
Yeah, I think these people are giants of the Scottish game. I think their names are woven into the fabric and the history of Scottish football, and I think supporters like that. I think they like to see a memorial of people who were giants within their club and within the game.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? There's two people I'd like to see get a statue, Ruffy, at other grounds, and I wonder if you agree with me.
Tell me the grounds.
No, Pat Stanton.
Oh, Hibs, definitely, yeah.
And Robbo.
Yeah.
27 Derby goals. Will that ever be repeated, Robbo's 27 Derby goals, Ruffy?
No, I don't think so. No, we get a wee one and me beside him, because I was part of 24 of them.
Is there not an Alan Ruff statue at Partick Thistle?
Eh?
Alan Ruff statue.
I think Dave McParlin might come before me.
Oh,
because he's the manager.
Yeah, that's a nice touch, Ruffy. That would be great. He's got a big mural on the wall.
Mural, and it's the road leading up to the stand is called McParland Way, which is great.
I'm sure somebody will maybe put a mural of you on one of the walls close to Firhill as well. The only problem is there's going to be that sense that it's always looking at you as you're walking past.
Well, Hopefully it's not a statue of David.
Can I ask you?
The naked one.
Can I ask our viewers or our listeners, unless you know the answer to this?
Right,
I keep driving by the statue at the Wishaw Cross. Who's the wee boxer? I don't know whether it's Benny Lynch or McCluskey. I'm sure somebody will tell us before the end of the show. There's a boxer, and I think it's just at the Wishaw roundabout or somewhere in that.
It's
New Mains.
It's New Mains.
There's a boxer there.
His name.
Is it Benny Lynch?
No, it's not Benny Lynch, but I should know his name. He's tragically a boxer who died. One of our
definitely somebody.
By the way, I just thought I'd mention. Also, if you walk through the grounds at Strathclyde Park, you'll see Davy Cooper. There's a statue of Davy Cooper there as well. So, yeah, I think more than a few.
I gave you another good quiz questions when you come back from New York.
Say that again?
A quiz question when you come back from New York. What statue is in the park in New York, in Central Park? There's a big statue of a particular dog that was in a kiddies cartoon. No.
There's a dog.
You have to watch kiddies cartoons. It's a dog. It's a famous dog who supposedly saved the people of New York a long time ago.
Right, from kiddies cartoons.
Yeah, they'd made a film of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
And it just so happened that my daughters loved it. And when we went to New York, there's a statue in Central Park of this dog.
Right, is it got a Scottish connection?
No.
No, so and it's not Lassie, but there's a dog in there.
Yeah, I'll tell you the name if you want.
No, there's no. That's what I.
No.
How did we get to a dog in the middle of Central Park? There is no Scottish
Talking about
connection.
statues.
All right, okay.
It's a big statue.
Right, go on.
Its name's Balto.
Okay, then that's fantastic.
And can you tell me how? Well, I'll tell you how it saved New York.
Go on then.
Because there was an epidemic in New York for all the people who were all dying, and they needed an antitoxin. And that was the dog that went and got the antitoxin and brought it back and saved all the people's lives in New York.
Well, that is magnificent, honestly.
What a story.
It really is a great story.
Take that after dinner smell.
See, honest with you,
funny the one he's got.
Not only that, it'd be great if he showed the same research into some of the opinions that we're looking for in the football. I mean, that is unbelievable. I mean, people are...
Balco?
Balto.
Write that down, will you, Tam? Just out of curiosity, I mean, I'll tell you, I know, Ali. I know what you're thinking. By the way, somebody sent me a message today. It was so bad, right? I thought, I'm not going to read it out. It was hurtful, and they went, it's time for Ruffy to go and get Tam in on a full-time basis. And I thought, I can't read it out, but I can read it out now.
You wouldn't get that information for him?
No, absolutely
not.
Because it's a football show. It's not Disney Plus here. I know we all love a bit of sentimentality and nostalgia. I'd love to see... the same as you, Ali, Messi win it for Argentina. There's big speculation that he could be on his way to join Inter Miami in the MLS.
Yeah, I think he's going into the very final moments of what's been a glittering career, and this is the one that's eluded him. I think there's a lot of people would like to see him go and leave a footprint on it. Early impressions and early evidence might not suggest that it's realistic. I don't know, and maybe he feels particularly weighted by that. I think there's probably a huge amount of pressure on his shoulders that he'll feel. I would have to say, just on the opening round of games, I think Brazil, for me, probably looked like the team to beat. I think Spain have looked very impressive, but it's a pretty young squad. I don't know if they'll have the depth to go all the way, but like you, I think it would be, on an individual basis, I think we'd like to see Messi win.
I agree with Ali saying that. See when Messi scored that goal and he went running over at the supporters, it was as if it was a massive relief taking off him, as a pressure, and you could feel him sort of God, I got that goal, that's a lot, I can relax now, sort of a thing.
Yeah, I'd love to see them win it, but I can't see past Brazil. Has Ruffy been watching David Attenborough, says Paul Brady. We don't know what he's been watching or he's been drinking, Paul. We're still trying to work it out. And over and above that, DPG says Ruffy's doing a travel show next week. Don't rule it out. And thank you to so many people who've mentioned to us as well. Don, as well as Michelle Stewart. James Murray is the boxer in New Mains. So that was it. I remember all those years ago it was commissioned and in memory of James. So it's up there at New Mains Cross, just as you head down towards where our studios are, Ruffy. So thank you to so many who have mentioned that as well. Ali, I've got to ask you, over the weekend it was a record attendance, 8,066 for the Edinburgh Derby in the women's game. Hibs won it, maybe didn't live up to the hype during the 90 minutes and beyond, but in the end they won the cup, got the points they needed.
Yeah, I would have to say it's a bizarre format. They both share the points, both teams take a point apiece for the league, and then they have the shootout for this Edinburgh Cup. I think, I'm not a fan. I think it devalues the occasion. I think you have to have a standalone competition if you want that. I thought it was just slightly bizarre that you would then go and have a penalty shootout, whereas you're both sharing the points in the back of a draw. I would welcome the attendance. Obviously, I think Hibs worked very hard in the build up to the game. I think they were keen to distribute as many tickets as possible to local schools and local football teams and to kids and get as many people along. I think that's what they have to do. I think that's what all clubs have to be doing. It's a first step towards trying to invite as many people in as possible and increase the exposure of the women's game. But I think we also have to be a bit more realistic about how you showcase it and how you frame games. Yeah, absolutely. Celtic Rangers didn't live up to the hype, especially with a weekend when maybe you were hoping for a bigger crowd than just over 3,000. Yeah, I was at the game at Broadwood on Saturday night. I thought it was quite an insipid game, to be honest. I think we know it's not the best surface to be playing on. I think Rangers probably had the better of the chances. Celtic could have won it at the very death, but I think Celtic were definitely happier with the point than Rangers were. I think they hit the crossbar, had a couple of decent chances. Ironically enough, I thought the two best players for each team were both goalkeepers. So I think quite often you hear goalkeepers denigrated within the women's game. I thought both of them were excellent. Yeah, okay. Thanks for that, Ali. Glasgow City hit the front, which is again for them a position they were well used to over a 13-14 year period, but they've been challenged by other clubs who are investing in the women's game. It will probably become even more and more prominent across all of the channels as it gets stronger and stronger. Of course, not really something that we have to worry about, Ruffy, because we featured it from the 10 years ago when we started, and I think we have had Rhonda on, we've had Leanne Crichton, developed her, and then sold her on for a fee, Ruffy, didn't we? And we actually went out and did a small documentary in Glasgow City. We went out to see all the different age groups that were coming through, and then obviously they got into Europe, and we were very vocal in that as well. Yeah, absolutely. So there you are. I was just waiting you saying, so there, right. But others followed suit when they thought it was PC to do so. Just before we go, a couple of things. Of course, we started by telling you about the Fandex competition. You can join it at any stage. It's free to play, and you can win some cash prizes at the end of each stage. Here's Adam.
Come and join PLZ Soccer on Fandex for our FIFA World Cup 2022 stock exchange game. It's absolutely free to play, and you have the chance to win some great cash prizes. You can buy shares in your favourite team and watch their stock price increase or decrease based on their real life World Cup performances against the expected points tally set by Fandex. You can buy and sell as many teams as you like, as often as you like, with winners being announced after every round. The PLZ Soccer family are waiting for you on Fandex. Head to plzsoccer.com and click on Fandex World Cup 2022.
Yeah, FandexWorldCup.com, and it's well worth getting involved. They've certainly been looking at some of the teams and investing in them and then selling them at the right time. Who knows whether I'll win anything out of it, but you're more than welcome to join in on it. And also our Grieve Sports and Copa, our friends are offering 6 vouchers. Well worth getting involved in that as well. You can check out our Facebook page, and also if you really want to, you can download our app and you'll get all the latest breaking football news. We posed you a question at the top of the programme. Okay, Ruffy, how many goals has Ronaldo scored for Portugal throughout his career? How many games has he played? Doesn't matter, just give us a goal. 102. 102, Ali. I think it's about that as well. Did he not score his 100th in one of the qualifiers? Come on, Ali, just give us a
I'm
name.
going to say 104.
104, trying to just edge you out, Ruffy.
118 I'll go for.
118 because you read it earlier on. You are absolutely...
Is it 118?
No, it's 117, but I knew right away. Because what he does is...
It'll be 118 after the game tonight.
Yeah, I was going to say, because he waits at the top of the programme and he just...
I did see it and it was 118-ish.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, sure you did. Okay, just before we go, a couple of things I want to mention. Thanks very much to so many people who've been sending us lots of messages, because if you download the app, there's a submission section where you can actually just send us an email, and we're more than happy to read out some of your messages. Paul says, "Hi Peter, me and my best buddy Brendan watch the show every day, but as we work in Riyadh, it's always on catch up due to the 3-hour time difference, apart from obviously Fridays. It would be great to get a shout out for the big man today. Well done, Brendan. We love the podcast, we love the guests. I met Ruffy as a wee boy wearing a Celtic strip after he beat us in the cup final in 1971. Wow. I was 62 myself last week. How time flies. So it may be good to say hello to Paul and Brendan.
Brendan,
yeah.
This and the Scottish Cup draws tonight, isn't it, after the game?
Yes, it is.
Maybe we'll get Celtic again.
Yeah, you never know. Afternoon guy says, Chris, could I get a wee mention? Yeah, that's exactly why. Chris says, afternoon guys, can I get a wee mention for my birthday? 47 years daft. Chris, happy birthday, Chris. Happy birthday, Chris. I think I'm a day late with that, Chris, but nevertheless, happy birthday to you. And also Willie says, afternoon Peter, Ruffy and Tam, smart tops lads. He likes the tops that we were wearing the other week there. And he says, I love the show. I was wondering if you could pick a team of players that never made a World Cup. You know, obviously with George Best was world class but never had the honour. I tell you, that would be a good one, Ali, wouldn't it?
Be a good one.
Pick 11 players that have never played in a World Cup. That is really good.
Wales, Ryan Giggs.
Ryan Giggs would really
Yeah, Rushy. Mark Hughes. Yeah,
Hughes, I think.
absolutely. Well worth having a go at that. We might actually do that. I think thanks very much to Willie for suggesting that. Great to have your input as well. Thanks for all the messages. Don't forget, hit the subscribe button on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel and you can join the football family. It is uncensored, unbiased, unmatched, and it's absolutely free to watch. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching.